at the Glasgow conference when India announced that it is going to try to achieve net zero by 2070. What were your initial reactions? Did you think it was feasible?
I thought it was ambitious, but it was necessary and feasible, both.
And sorry?
Feasible and
Feasible
necessary.
and necessary. Okay. And the steps that are being taken and the policy decisions being made, do you think that we are actually working towards it? And is that the subject of this, the present conference that you have organized?
We are not moving fast enough, and that is a big worry. See, 2070 is a sort of goalpost. So there has to be a roadmap to 2070, and the most important part of that roadmap has to be how we are going to do in this decade between 2023 and 2030, because as IPCC scientists keep telling us, later on it will become far more costly
Right.
in both financial and social terms to do what we need to do. So it's the roadmap that is of the essence. We have a roadmap now in India's updated NDC. Now the issue is to what extent are we able to follow that roadmap. So far, I would say my response is mixed. In some areas we'll be able to follow, such as industrial energy efficiency. In terms of renewable energy rollout, we may just slip a bit, but maybe not by a very significant amount. Where I'm afraid we'll slip a lot is forestry. Forestry,
Right.
in planting trees and in improving the quality of our forests. That is part of our commitment, and it is an important part of the process, because forests, apart from all their biodiversity values, social values, environmental values, are also carbon sinks. And our forestry goals we have not been able to meet so far, the 2015 forestry goals, and I really see no sign that we'll be able to meet our updated forestry goals.
Right. Do you think that of all the forms of renewable energy, solar would be the one that is focused on as we transition?
In fact, I believe solar need to be focused on because it can be utilized or accepted or adopted by individual and masses. So that way penetration would be much more, and the reaching the target for from technology point of view, as well as from our climate disaster related survival point of view, is extremely essential. So if masses are involved by taking that particular course of action by their own action itself, I think it would be better.
And do you think that the target is actually possible by 2030, 2070 rather? Is it a possible, feasible target, do you think, for the
Yeah,
Indian?
I think it is feasible,
Right.
as well as I am quite what should I say, that I'm quite optimistic also, going by Government of India's actions, moves, steps taken till date, and the way they are planning, it is definitely feasible.
Right. Many thanks. Can you explain about just transition? What is exactly meant by just transition?
Uh, so in very simple terms, just transition initially started as a concept wherein we looked, or the concept basically referred to rehabilitation or resettlement of people who were involved in coal labor work. However, over the last few decades, over the last 30-40 years, the concept has now broadened. Now the concept has now broadened. We are now looking at just transition as a concept wherein anyone and everyone who is involved in the coal and the slash fossil fuel ecosystem is taken care of, and the last person, even the last person in this ecosystem, that person's rights are being respected, and that person's welfare is being taken care of.
Right. What, according to you, is the biggest challenge to this transition? From fossil fuel to renewable energy.
The challenge is not just one. It is a challenge with multi-phase challenge. For example, finance is one. Two, alternative livelihood is one. Three, what happens to the ecosystem, or what happens to the benefits? What happens to the ecosystem? What happens to the benefits that the coal ecosystem brings?
Right.
Can that be replicated in clean energy transition?
All right.
Another point I just wanted to add,
Yes.
if you look at the clean energy transition, which is integral and crucial to just energy transition, what we also need to understand whether that process continues to be just for the environment and the communities involved.
Correct. I mean, that is how clean is clean energy, right? That's the concern, right? So there are ways, and you think it is feasible to achieve net zero by 2070. What is your view? Just
In simple terms, yes, it is.
Yeah.
It is very much feasible. However, there's a big if, and that if comes to implementation part. In this country, or not just here, across the world, there are a lot of places where we have enough laws, but what we lack is the will and implementation. And sometimes disruption, whether it is in terms of, for example, let's take example of Russia-Ukraine war.
Right.
Something like that can actually derail a lot of plans.
Correct.
Just to give a context, not directly related to Russia-Ukraine war, we had the policy to look at looking at improving or looking at power plants which were emitting a lot of pollution. The first deadline was 2017, that we came to 2019, then 2022, and now we are staring at a deadline of 2030.
Right.